Seraph de Colonae, The Angel from Colonae, circa 1305 AD. A story by Dorothy B. This is the story of a young girl who lived in the town of Colonae around the time of 1305 AD. Angelica Bandalini was her name. She was called the Angel of Colonae. Angelica was the center of her father's attention. Her limbs were long like tree branches that seemed to reach towards the heavens. Often she would help him in the fields, planting and harvesting their crops. The sun beat against her skin like the sweet nectar from a honeysuckle. She loved to wander the countryside in search of friends that she only found in nature. Nature had a way of calling her into its home and to its bedside. She learned the language of the birds most of all. She understood their every call. Angelica found solace in their wails, their play, and in their flights. She understood their moods and the way they lived. Hummingbirds lived and sang outside her window, calling her forth to sit quietly as they played. She could slip in and out of this world of grown-ups as easily as a kitten or a squirrel leaped from one tree to another. Angelica could leap also. Her body became lithe with practice. She could crawl through tree branches, through tiny holes, swing from vine to vine, surely as any animal could. Angelica could see things too. She could see angels sitting a few feet above the ground. They took care of her, following her around so that no harm would come to her. The first angel she saw was when she was 8 years old. She was playing outside with her older sisters and baby brother. While no one else was paying attention, an angel came out from the love of God and appeared before her. Angelica was not afraid. Her heart filled with joy. The angel looked soft and clear, almost see-through. There was gentleness all around her, and that gentleness flowed to the body of Angelica. It stroked her long ponytails, the ones that butterflies used to light upon. That gentleness showered kisses on her forehead. Angelica began to see everything in a different way. Her hands became warm and cool at the same time. Her feet felt as though they were dancing to music, joyful music, music that colored the sky and everything around her into perfect stillness. It was as if no one else existed. Suddenly she felt all alone in the world with her angel. And for the first time in her life, she was not afraid of anything or anybody. She did not hear birds singing now. There were no hummingbirds flitting about. No dog barked in the distance. Even the sun did not seem to exist, even though it was a bright, beautiful day. Everything was still, and the world stood at attention beneath her feet. Angelica's angel held out her hands to her, as though she wanted her to come and join her. Still, Angelica was not afraid, but she did not move forward. With a beautiful grin, she leaped up and ran to get her mother, so that she too could see such beauty, such splendor that now stood before her. Angelica ran into her home and returned with her mother. Her angel had gone. Her mother believed what her daughter had seen, because she too walked with angels. Angelica did not cry. She did not feel alone. At first she was puzzled. She did not understand why her angel had left so suddenly, but then she realized that she only came for her to see. She only came to see Angelica and to let her know that she would always walk by her side. Angelica loved to play music on her mandolin. She sang songs that she made up. She wrote songs for little children who were younger than herself. She wrote songs for trees that had to stand in the wind during terrible storms. She wrote songs for baby birds that hurt their wings and that could not fly. She wrote songs for children who had lost their mothers and fathers, songs for earthly angels who had lost their way. Many times she sang these songs as she sat alone or as she sat high up in a tree. Angelica loved to climb trees and to look down at the ground into the room she called her living room. Sometimes a guest would come to the bottom of her stairs, which was the bottom of her tree. Usually it was her baby brother. She always had to climb back down the tree because her brother was too small to climb up the tree by himself. Angelica was a student of the universe. She studied everything. Often she would take long walks in the woods alone. She turned over rocks, lifted small patches of olive green grass, and sat on a perch. She collected small rocks. They were tiny gems from God. Sometimes Angelica would walk by streams of running water and dip her feet in it. The water was cool and refreshing. As she watched the leaves and branches drift by, she imagined that she flowed down those streams to distant lands. She wondered what was at the end of those streams. Angelica made jewelry from things she collected from nature. She loved most to make necklaces from flowers and tree limbs. They rested so delicately around her neck. She imagined she could sell them at the market for a fine price that she could bring back to her mother. Angelica's mother was a beautiful lady. She had long hair that looked like the wind found its direction in it. Her hair held many mysteries, many songs that the angels sang. It also held stories about how she grew up working in the fields with her mother, father, and many sisters and brothers. It told how she had to cook for 16 children, wash their clothes, and wash the dishes too, all when she was only 12 years old. Angelica's mother was soft and gentle like her angel that always walked by her side. Angelica loved to draw and to paint. She drew and painted things that only she could see. Sometimes she saw faces in walls, in the crevices of the floors, on the ceilings. They were beautiful, strange faces. Angelica could see the fingerprints of God's hands in these faces. She could not understand why no one else saw them or painted them. This was her world, and she was glad that she was in it. Angelica's work was hard. She had to help plant the beans, the corn, the tomatoes, the salad, the peas, and all the other vegetables that her mother and her father planted in their garden. Then, as they grew, she had to help water them, help keep the grass and weeds from growing around them and choking them. The sun was hot, but friendly. God always knew when to send a cool breeze her way to cool her and her family. It was his way of saying, "You are taking care of my earth. You are planting and growing things as I have told you to. So I will show you that I will take care of you also." Angelica loved and respected God's earth. She understood the faces of the trees. Some of them had been around for over 100 years. They knew a lot. They held a lot of information in their roots that stretched wide and deep underground. Rain came down and bathed them in the hot afternoon. They seemed to sigh with relief. In the spring, the trees perked up with brand new life. They sang songs of joy and renewal. Their limbs seemed to dance from morning until the twilight of the stars. In the fall, the leaves turned many beautiful colors. They turned orange and yellow, brown and purple. This was a glorious chorus singing the praises of life everlasting. Angelica's mother also planted beautiful flower gardens. She nourished them with hope and love. With her gentle hands, she stood them up when they leaned over from the hot sun. She watered them, talked to them, saw them grow and give life to their home. Angelica often prayed while resting on the hilltops after a long day's work. The breeze coming in from the valley was a cool, talkative one. She understood it, too. The sky always seemed a blue crimson, like a thin curtain about to close for the night. She would turn her face towards heaven and begin to sing. Io tia sia dea tia saita, meo tia se mea tia tia ate, le mea sia liande, siteo, bilio, bilio. Here I lie inside the earth without you. Yes, I am yours. Here I am yours. Let me stay and hold you here. Be at peace. Be at peace. This is how Angelica spent her days in the hills of Cologne.